we're gonna be realistic here on this channel. So we're not gonna do the 26 books to read in 2026 video because I tried the 25 books in 2025 video last year and I read like 3, I think, on that list. So instead, I decided to reach out to some of my good booktube or bookstagram buddies and a couple of my family members who know my taste, and I asked 12 of them to give me each one book recommendation and why they want me to read it or why they love that book. So we're gonna do 12 book recs from 12 friends or family for 2026. So let's just grab a drink and get right into the video. Hey y'all, welcome to or welcome back to my channel, KelsKCoolReads. We're gonna jump into the first book recommendation from my girl Ray over at Bookmark Chronicles. So Ray told me, and pretty much told me, that I need to pick up Amari and the Great Game this year because I read Amari and the Night Brothers in 2024 and never continued in the series, and I don't understand why, because it was a 5-star read for me. It's pretty much a middle grade Black Harry Potter. It has a magical school, it has a quests that are super fun to keep up with, a group of tight-knit friends, you know, a villain, all of the makings for a perfect fantasy that is super nostalgic, super cute, and like I said, it's Black. Sorry, Hugo had an itch or something. It was really distracting. You always kind of see him. He's never too far away from his mom, but yeah, if you hear him making some noise, sorry about that. But anyway, this is gonna be a 5-part series, I believe. So the trilogy is out fully, the first 3 books, and then the 4th book, I believe, releases this year. I'll put the release date down here. So what a better time to just binge through all of it this year, which is what I plan to do. So I appreciate Ray for putting that fire under my ass to pick up the 2nd book, because I'll be doing that a little bit closer to whatever the release date is this year. Hey, Future Scotty here. I basically wrapped up the rest of this video, but I'm coming back because I realized that for everyone else, I explained their channels, and as I was rushing to get this started, I didn't do that for Ray. So Ray at Bookmark Chronicles is a great YouTube bud that is on YouTube and Instagram. I get a lot of my Black romance or good feeling and smutty books from Ray. Our reading taste is a little bit different. I read a lot more horror, some fantasy, contemporary, and she reads a lot more of indie authors, which is also a benefit that I have from Ray, because Ray keeps me on my toes with being you gotta read Black books, and there's even more Black books than you think, especially when you go into the indie space. So please support Ray's channel. Ray's great. Next up, we have a book rec from Brandie at BookswithBrandieShanae, and that is on YouTube and on Instagram. Brandie hosts reading sprints. That's kind of how I found Brandie's channel, and also supports Black authors all throughout the year. Primarily just reads Black authors. So I get a lot of my Black recs and authors that I haven't heard of before from her channel. So definitely go support her. And I'm really excited for the read that Brandie picked, which is Birth of a Dynasty by Chinaza Botto, I believe, which is a Black-inspired fantasy. That's all I really know, but I want to read what she said for why I should pick it up. It says, the book lures you in with action within the first few pages of the book. There's also political intrigue, different POVs, and the pacing is amazing. So that sounds great. Let me pull up the Goodreads summary, and I'll be right back. All right, so I read through the summary on my own because it's pretty long, and I'm not gonna sit here and have you guys listen to me. So I'm gonna sum it up really quickly. It looks like this is an epic fantasy trilogy. So this is the first book that's out. There will be 2 more out. I believe this released in 2025. Yes, it released July of 2025. So it says quickly, Birth of a Dynasty is the start of a thrilling epic fantasy trilogy centered around 3 families fight for power in Akabulan, a land where magic is feared, giants are real, and prophecy holds sway. We shall not forgive, we shall not forget, we will have our vengeance. So this looks like a revenge story of multiple people who have power, Black-inspired, Black author. This looks great. When I'm looking at the Goodreads, all of my friends have rated it 5 stars. I've heard fantastic things about this. So thanks, Brandie. I'm excited to pick this one up this year. Next up, I asked Nkechi over at LibraryOfWonder I believe it's Library of Wonder on YouTube and Library2Wonder on Instagram, and they're active on both, but I'll make sure I have everything listed below just in case I missay something, because I want you guys to follow all of these people. That's also a big reason as to why I'm doing this. Not only were they going to give me great recommendations, but they'll give great recommendations for you guys on a daily basis based off of their videos and Instagram posts as well. So anyway, going back to what Nkechi has said, Nkechi decided to have me read James by Percival Everett. I'm really pumped about this because I know this one has won a lot of awards. I haven't heard a single negative thing about this, and my mother-in-law actually has read this and is going to reread it, so I think we'll be reading it around the same time, which will be great. I plan on picking this up in February for Black History Month, and it is not a retelling, reimagining of the classic Huckleberry Finn, or The Adventures of Huck Finn, but Percival Everett spun it so that the main character is the slave Jim James from his perspective. And I read The Trees from Percival Everett last year, and it was very high up in my best reads. I really, really liked his writing style, which was unique in terms of hard-hitting topics, but also a little bit of satire, which he moved me because normally I don't like satire or comedy in my books, but I was really blown away with how Percival Everett did it in The Trees. So I'm excited to finally pick up a second book by him. So James, I'll be reading next month. Thanks, Nkechi. I can't wait to pick this up. Oh, I did want to say that the reason why Nkechi picked this one was said that it was fast-paced, direct writing style, great humor, subjective but there, like I said. I'm excited for that. And then Nkechi said it's their personal favorite book of 2025. So they gave me a couple of other recs, but because that was Nkechi's #1 book of last year, I had to bump it up. So yeah, look out for my wrap-up from February to see my thoughts about this book. Next up, we have Ally, and her tag is AllyBrianneReads at YouTube and Instagram. And please go give Ally love. I don't understand, like, Ally's videos are so well done and she's so creative in the horror space and deserves so much more love. So please go check out Ally. Actually, last year, she asked me to do the same thing for her and suggest a book to her, and I suggested Any Man by Amber Tamblyn. If you don't know me, that's one of my favorite books of all time. Check her trigger warnings before going in because it's a very, very heavy read, and she really, really liked it. So when I asked her, she said, last year you recommended Any Man to me, so I feel like you will enjoy this one, which is American Rapture by C.J. Lee. It says C.J. really packs a punch of being blunt about the topics that mean a lot to her, and the real-life horror in this is brutal, but needs to be said. She is pretty bold, so check triggers if needed. I actually own this book already, so I'm excited to pick it up. We're gonna go over the summary really quickly. It says, never been kissed, about to get screwed. A virus is spreading across America, transforming the infected and making them feral with lust. Huh. Interesting. Sophie, a good Catholic girl, must survive the hellscape of the Midwest to try to save her twin brother while the world around her burns. Along the way, she discovers there are far worse fates than dying a virgin. Neil Gaiman's American Gods meets The Last of Us in this epic and sweeping novel about the end of the world as we know it. Interesting. I didn't know much about it, but it looks like there's an infection. I wonder if it's like COVID related, but it has to do with lust. So I wonder how far they're going to go in this story with that, but I'm very intrigued. So yeah, thank you, Ally. If you haven't already, everything's listed below. Go check these people out, please. Now we have Jess from JessOwens. I'm sure a lot of you guys know who she is. She's been around for a while and pretty prolific in the booktube space. She's great for a good reason. Go check her out on YouTube and Instagram. Everything's linked below, as I keep saying. So Jess suggested The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo by Stieg Larsson, which is cool because I love a good backlisted book. So thank you for this one. It is a part of a trilogy, but what's cool is that all 3 of them are already out. I think there might even be more than 3, like there's an extended trilogy or something. I don't know, there's lore behind this one because I think the author ended up dying, but then someone else took over or something like that. Whenever I read it, I'll dive deep into kind of the lore of this author and what happened because I know that there was some stuff that was there. But anyway, this is not the video for that. Jess said that this was one of the best mystery thrillers that she ever read, even though she read it in 2016. So I'm excited for this because I trust Jess' opinion with anything. It says, Harriet Wenger, a scion of one of Sweden's wealthiest families, disappeared over 40 years ago. All these years later, her aged uncle continues to seek the truth. He hires Michael Blomkvist, a crusading journalist recently trapped by a liberal conviction to investigate. He is aided by the piercing and tattooed punk prodigy Lisbeth Salander. I thought it was Salamander. Salander. Together they tapped into a vein of unfathomable inequity and astonishing corruption. International publishing sensation Stieg Larsson's The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo combines murder mystery, family saga, love story, and financial intrigue into one satisfying, complex, and entertaining atmospheric novel. Damn, that was hard for me to read, but it sounds very intriguing. Any mystery thriller, I don't want to go into knowing too much. I know that I tried to pick this up like back in middle school or something, and I know that this is a heavy read, and I probably should not have done that, so I'm glad that I didn't finish it, but I'm glad I pick it up now, so thanks, Jess. Next, we have Bree from BreeShareeReads. Very similar name. She's great. She also hosts reading sprints every single Sunday that I try to jump into as much as I can. I really like the consistency that she has over there. She's on Instagram as well. Link below. And she gave me multiple books to choose from. And I think the one that I'm going to pick is Minor Detail by Adania Shibli. As always, I should have looked before I got on camera, and I have not still learned to do that after a couple years of being on YouTube. But anyway, this I am really intrigued with because I'm trying to read more from Palestinian authors and to learn a bit of what's going on there and what has been going on for a long time that we're not really educated on here in America. And yeah, that's a whole different video for a whole other day. But I own this one, I just haven't picked it up yet, so this is a good push from Bree, so thanks for this suggestion. It says, Minor Detail begins during the summer of 1949, 1 year after the war the Palestinians mourn as the Nakba, the catastrophe that led to the displacement and expulsion of more than 700,000 people. And the Israelis celebrate as a war of independence. Israeli soldiers capture and rape a young Palestinian woman and kill and murder her in the sand. Many years later, a woman in Ramallah becomes fascinated to a point of obsession with this minor detail of history. A haunting meditation on war, violence, and memory, Minor Detail cuts to the heart of the Palestinian experience of disposition, life under occupation, and the persistent difficulty of piecing together a narrative in the face of ongoing erasure and disempowerment. Sounds very heavy, sounds very imperative. I want to pick this up ASAP. It came out in 2020, which is interesting. I thought it would have come out in like 2023, but no, it came out in 2020, which is even more interesting and sad. But yeah, I can't wait to read this. Thanks, Bree. It'll be a heavy read, but a great one. I hope to read it maybe next month. We'll see. Next, we have Bo from BowsBooks on YouTube and Instagram. This is a new find for me at the end of 2025, finding her channel, and I'm really glad that we have similar interests, especially when it comes to horror reads, so check her out. So she says she recommended The Hare or The Har by David Sodergren. Said it was my favorite read of 2024 and I still think about it. I went in blind, and if you don't know what it's about, I recommend that you do too. I don't know what it's about, so I'm gonna keep reading, but that's great. I like to go into books blind, honestly. Just know it's a horror book. I absolutely love that the female main character was an 84-year-old woman. Cool. That was something new for me. That will be for me too. There were parts that got me so angry I had to take a break, and then there were parts that were so ridiculous I had to laugh. My favorite parts were the ones that were so unexpectedly beautiful that I cried. I hope you enjoy this strange book as much as I did, but it's okay if you don't. Well, it seems like we have similar taste in reads, so I am excited for this. As they said, I'm not going to read the synopsis. I am eager to pick this up because I like a horror book that can also make you cry, which it seems like there was some beautiful writing and moments in here and not just things that were infuriating or gross or creepy. I'll go into it blind. I think an 84-year-old female main character is unique. I don't know if I've read an older main character in quite a while. So yeah, thanks, Bo. I'll let you know what happens whenever I read it and how I feel about it. Next, I have Kelsey by KelsKCoolReads on Instagram. I don't believe that they post videos on YouTube. I know that we interact in the comment section on YouTube, but I don't think that they actively release videos. I'll have it in the description box if I'm wrong, but we talk on Instagram quite a bit. And they said, I recommend Sleepers by Lorenzo Carcaterra, which I had never heard of before. She says it's a revenge story about friendship and brotherhood and what limits you go to for someone you love. She also said if you're into checking trigger warnings, you might want to for this book because it's pretty heavy / has violent content. It's also a movie, so that's a fun little comparison if you decide to read / watch it. Okay, awesome. So I'm not gonna go to Goodreads and read the synopsis. I think that's enough information in there that makes me intrigued, and I like to go into stuff blind, as I keep saying. But I'm not a person who checks trigger warnings either. I like to tell people if it's a heavy content warning that they can decide if they want to, but for me, I generally don't get triggered that much. Luckily, I'm fortunate enough that I don't, so I don't need to do that. But what's cool is that Kelsey follows my channel a lot and knows that I am trying to dive more into book to movie adaptation videos because I did it for The Long Walk last year, which is still to this day my #1 video on my channel overall, and it was a lot of fun to do. So I'm excited for that, to see this movie versus book adaptation, and I'm sure that I'll do a video whenever I get to this in 2026. So thanks, Kelsey, you're awesome. Next we have Gabbie, who is my friend here in Phoenix, and she actually hosts my local friends book club. She's great. She actually has a Bookstagram channel called GabrielleGoldenHourBooks, which will be linked below. And she suggested that I pick up My Government Means to Kill Me by Rashid Newson. She said, it's a powerful, emotional, and important read. I love how it was written, and the audiobook is also incredible. Okay, cool. I'll get the audiobook and I'll do an immersive reading session. It's captivating and engrossing, and I look forward to his new book coming out in June. Cool. So maybe I'll wait to read this in the summer, so that'll be closer around the time that Rashid Newson has a second book. What's funny is that I have seen this cover quite a bit, and I think that Gabbie has talked about this book before, but I thought this was a nonfiction read. Like, My Government Means to Kill Me, I felt like, especially being a Black person in America, I was like, oh yeah, I understand like what those topics would be, but it's actually a historical fiction book. Looking at the Goodreads summary here, it's basically saying, My Government Means to Kill Me is an exhilarating, fast-paced, coming-of-age story that lends itself to a larger discussion about what it means for a young gay Black man in the mid-1980s to come to terms with his role in the midst of a political and social reckoning. So I'm assuming this is AIDS, ACT UP, AIDS Coalition to Unleash Power. Seems like it's gonna be a pretty heavy read, but I'm intrigued. It's only 276 pages as well, so not super long. So yeah, thanks, Gabbie. I can't wait to read this one. Next is a recommendation that I've had from my good friend Nkechi since probably like 2018. I've owned this book since 2018 and I have not read it. And Nkechi is gonna kill me, so I had to put it on this list. And I don't understand why I haven't picked it up because it sounds so intriguing. And that book is Infidel, and it's Ayaan Hirsi Ali's memoir. So it says here on Goodreads, Somali-born author Ali is one of the most controversial women on earth. For years, she has been forced to live in hiding. Her life has been threatened numerous times. An anti-Quran script that she wrote provoked the assassination of filmmaker Theo van Gogh, and a dispute over her citizenship indirectly brought down the Dutch government. What? This sounds crazy. This memoir about her family's travails living under strict fundamentalist Islamic precepts tracks the evolution of a world-changed radical feminist. I didn't know all that about her. I just knew that she was a radical feminist, you know, that grew up in strict Islamic religion and kind of fought against it is what I thought that this was about, but it seems like it's way more than that. So sorry, Nkechi, I promise I will get to this book this year. Promise, promise, promise. Okay, we're getting to the end, but I'm excited about this pick because it comes from my sister-in-law named Zoe. And Zoe has been one of my biggest supporters of my channel since the very beginning, and I just love her to death. And the book that she picked was The Song of Achilles. And hold on, let me pull up the reason why she picked this one specifically for me. She said, yeah, the first one that comes to mind is The Song of Achilles. It's been a minute since I've read it, so I don't even quite know how it holds up for me now, but it was the first book that got me into reading and one of the first books that actually made me feel emotions. So it has a special place in my heart. And I feel like a lot of people have said that about this book. Obviously, this is a very popular book. I own it, but haven't got around to it. I think the completionist part of my brain feels like I need to read the Odyssey and Iliad before I go into this retelling of Achilles' story, but I know that's not true. So thanks, Zoe. I will read it this year. I probably won't read the Odyssey and the Iliad beforehand, because I know that you don't need to. I just need to get out of my perfectionist brain, but this is gonna push me to do that. If it was a meaningful book for you, then it's important for me to read it, because I love you. All right, and the last person I had pick a rec for me was my husband, Ben. And he doesn't read a bunch, but he has told me about this book quite a bit. Obviously, this is a very popular book, but I just haven't read it, and that's 1984. And I think that he wants me to read that right now because he knows I'm gonna be really pissed off with reading it, because it's like the classic dystopian book by George Orwell. I somehow never read it. I was never forced to read it. Hugo's pause. All right, we gotta wrap it up. Hugo wants to go on a walk. But anyway, he knows I'm gonna be really upset and probably talk his ear off about this book. So I will read this, even though I know it's gonna make me upset, but I think it will be cool that like George Orwell's book that he wrote a while ago still holds up, unfortunately, with our society currently, like especially in the USA, which is where I am. So yeah, those are all of the 12 recs. Well, that's it for this video, y'all. I am determined to read these 12 books by the end of the year. We'll see. I don't know if I'm gonna vlog this specifically or if we'll just do another video at the end of 2026 to see where I am, but I'm eager to pick up all of these. So we'll see how fast I get through this, but I swear I will complete this challenge this year. If you stayed here to the end, please subscribe if you haven't already. I really appreciate it. And as always, let's continue to talk in the comments until my next upload. Chat soon. Bye.